that brought me to San Jose, California. The term Silicon Valley was not coined then. So Silicon Valley term was actually introduced somewhere around 1978. Since then, there have been several revolutions in the Silicon Valley. There was, the reason it's called Silicon Valley is because we produce silicon. Silicon is no longer the main attraction in Silicon Valley. All the production is done outside. Most companies that sell microprocessors, memories, chips, chipsets, all the production goes out to China, Korea, Japan, and most of the designs are in Silicon Valley. Then came personal computer. Over a period of time, how many of you have read the story of Apple? He actually took the computer to IBM. IBM basically threw him out. So he built a computer, and today you can see how that has changed the world. The computer revolution lasted almost 10 plus years. Then came internet, and you all know what that did. 10 years later, social media came. So every decade and a half, a new technology comes up, which if you're paying attention, and if you're listening, and you're reading, you will find there are opportunities for everyone. There is no guarantee that Americans will be the first to. Young students at the age of 18, when they come out of inter-science exam, are at the peak of their intellectual excellence. Universities in Pakistan systematically destroy their intelligence over 4 years of time. Not my words, end quote. Not my words. I'm not taking credit for it. Our system is based upon, and this could be a long discussion, I'd be here all night. Our system is based upon educating people to go and get one job. How about we turn it upside down and say get educated and create 100 jobs and keep the best one for yourself? That's what an entrepreneur does. He starts a company and he becomes the CEO. I've never heard of an entrepreneur that says I'm the what? Assistant junior engineer. Does that help? So listen to yourself, right? I mean, if you think something is good, do it. What was the question? Okay, no question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying the other question was from.
There was.
I have a.
Yes, please.
Could you elaborate a little bit on some of the other platforms? You mentioned Ethereum. There's Neo. There's EOS.
Yeah.
These are competing.
There are several competing platforms. So and I can't name all of them right now, but they're all available for you to. Someone asked me, right, before should you use one of the existing distributed blockchain base, or should you create your own? My answer to that is that use Ethereum or Neos or IBM Hyperledger right now. Learn what they might have missed, and then build your own. Because right now you want to get in there as fast as you can. Yes, please. The control to the doctor. So you could create a number, a token for that day. And you say, if you want to be my employer, if you want to be my insurance company, if you want to be my new hospital, here is the code, look it up. And all the information about my going to university or getting an internship or house job or wherever I work would be all there. And within an hour, a day, or a week, you cannot use that information anymore because I now authorized you. So authorization of how information flows will be reversed. It will go back to the owner of information rather than the user of information. And there's the various blocks you can build. I won't go into technology and all that and bore you with it. But that gives you an idea of what kind of projects you can take. We were just having a conversation as to what can you do today in Pakistan. You can build a blockchain from somewhere. whether that product was even shipped by the company you bought it from, whether it has arrived in your city, whether it has arrived on your street, or whether it's lost in the process. You can build a blockchain right now and help companies like Packages Limited. You can go to a big company. If a few of you got together and built a blockchain to track the movement of goods from the time that somebody purchased it till the time it's delivered, you put it on a blockchain, you'll be very successful. These are low-hanging fruits. So there are several applications like that. Hold that information and inform you when you want to be informed. As opposed to 10 companies who together decide that they will all share that information, put it on a blockchain, and if one server goes down or if one server gets hacked, the other 9 are still standing. That's the basic idea behind blockchain. It's a distributed ledger. So now you don't trust one entity, you don't trust anybody, you trust everybody, which means a majority says this data is correct, then it's correct. Any one of them that changes the data will not match the rest of the servers, in which case you'll be the odd man out, you'll be rejected by the majority, that server is not to be trusted anymore. Then you have to rebuild those. Okay. We're looking for the one about university degree. Actually, just leave it. Any questions so far? Is this making any sense or? Yes, no? Should I get out of here? Not yet, okay. One of the things that I'm excited about is because every 10, 20 years, as I said, new technology comes around, I want to be part of it. That doesn't mean that I'll be successful in the first thing that I try. The first thing you will try may not work. How many of you know Google was, there were other companies that did search before Google? Can you name one? Name one. Alta Vista. Whoa. Somebody is knowledgeable around here. Anything else? Ask. Anybody else? No, Bing came afterwards. Jeeves. Then ask Jeeves. So the case is, it's not the first one that will be the big. Now they all were also successful, but not as much as Google was. Google thought things through and then created a technology that basically is today. Twitter, for example, how simple a technology is it? You take 150 words, you store them, and anybody who wants to follow you can follow you, and they get the thing. 24 hours later, it becomes stale. Very simple technology. But all of those were possible because the underlying layer of internet was there. Imagine a Google without internet. Imagine Uber without internet. I'm actually an expert at building wrong things at the wrong time. Truly am. I built a book reader before internet by putting PC MCMA card per book that had to be burned on per book, and we lost a lot of money. We also built a GPS system for the cars before internet maps came around. We digitized all the map of every city. Now imagine if you have to digitize the map of every city in the world, how could you make any money? So obviously, that was not the right time. But the underlying technology of internet has enabled thousands of different businesses that would not have been possible had internet not been there. Now comes blockchain. There will be thousands of businesses, thousands of solutions that you have not even imagined yet. And that won't come out of labs at big companies. This won't come out of IBM. They won't come out of Microsoft. Most of the technology that Microsoft, IBM, and all these guys peddle today, they've bought companies like ours, small companies, and then produced, and they use their technology. So you have an opportunity. If you learn, understand, and get involved in the blockchain infrastructure, that you will get an idea that would basically provide a service that heretofore was not possible. So what am I doing right now? If I'm telling you to get involved, what am I doing personally? I'm actually building the first blockchain degree verification system at my expense. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm working with 2 universities. Everybody else said, "Ye nahi ho sakta." I went to 2 universities. The first 2 that said yes, I'm working with them. We will take your degrees for those universities. We'll take the fees that they paid. We'll take the attendance that the classes that they attended. We'll take the recommendation letters that their teachers wrote. We'll put them all on blockchain. We'll empower that student to go out and tell someone, "Here's a number, check me out. I'm a graduate of this university. I have these are my transcripts. This is the date I paid my fees." No one can say that degree is not correct. Even politicians can have the degrees checked out. Most of them would not make it. So as a test case, we're building a blockchain system. And it's not that difficult. Technology is not that difficult, really. If you are a technologist, how many of you are computer science? All of them. I'm in trouble. Don't start asking technical questions. I only have. Key is that you can get together and build an infrastructure. How many of you have heard of Hyperledger? Ethereum. Guys are buying Ethers, aren't you? They're all available to you. They're free software, free available. All you have to do is use your imagination and put them in, right? The other thing I'd be doing is, if I'm successful in convincing one large corporation to put their infrastructure on blockchain by creating what is called a trusted. So you could ask a question: how can I trust if everybody has this data? How can I secure privacy? You don't have to have a public infrastructure. You can have a private infrastructure. So let's say that 10 of the top universities in the country got together and had their servers in 10 locations, and everybody had a copy of those degrees. So if one university's system gets hacked or goes down, the other 9 will provide you with them. The give is that not only if you want your data to be held by other 9 universities, you must also put the other 9 universities' data on your server. That would be a challenge for 10 universities to agree to each other to put their data on it. But we'll solve that problem when we get around to it. I think I'm going to, how's my time? I think I've taken enough of your time. I think I'll stop here. If you have any questions, please feel free. Yes, please.
Since you've said that the data from the other 9 universities will be stored on the same server.
Yeah.
Does that not make redundancy an issue?
Redundancy is by design. Yes. I
Is
want my
that
data.
not bad?
No, it's good. Why is it bad? Who told you? Who said redundancy is bad?
Our database teacher.
What can I say? Dr. Abul Kalam, and it is last Vice Chancellor, said, and I quote, "Young students at the age of 18, when they come out of inter-science exam, are at the peak of their intellectual excellence. Universities in Pakistan systematically destroyed that intelligence over 4 years ago." Not my words, end quote. Not my words, not taking credit for it. Our system is based upon, and this could be a long discussion, I'd be here all night. Our system is based upon educating people to go and get one job. How about we turn it upside down and say, get educated and create 100 jobs and keep the best one for yourself. That's what an entrepreneur does. He starts a company and he becomes the CEO. I've never heard of an entrepreneur that says, I'm the what? Assistant junior engineer. Does that help? So listen to yourself, right? I mean, if you think something is good, do it. What was the question? Okay, no question. I'm not. No, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that the question was from.
There was.
Any other questions?
I have a.
Yes, please.
Could you elaborate a little bit on some of the other platforms? You mentioned Ethereum. There's Neo. There's EOS.
Yeah.
These are competing.
There are several competing platforms. So, and I can't name all of them right now, but they're all available for you to. Someone asked me, right, before this, should you use one of the existing distributed blockchain base, or should you create your own? My answer to that is that use Ethereum or Neos or IBM Hyperledger right now. Learn what they might have missed, and then build your own. Because right now you want to get in there as fast as you can. Yes, please.
With 10 universities, it seems to be a sensible design, but you said before that you are going to do it with 2 universities. So how are you going to do it?
The other 8 will come chasing, because the 2 will be the best ones there is out there for their students. I don't have to do anything. I have to, I'm sure, prove the point that I can do it. Then the other 8 will come. Right now, if I had to go sell to 10 vice chancellors and 10 IT managers, I wouldn't get there. Yes, please.
You said you create your own blockchain, not using any Ethereum or other.
No, I said use Ethereum or something not, and then create your own. But go ahead.
So, what's about the mining process? Who will mine your hashes or something else to create your blockchain?
Depends on what you're using as the proof of work, right? You're doing proof of work, proof of effort, whatever. You decide what you want to do. But yes, if you want information to be secured, you want me to do the hash? Not going to happen. You have to do your own hashing and all that, right? But the fact is, if you look at a Bitcoin, right? You have to do the hash in X number of minutes or X number of seconds. If you use a degree program, you can do it in 1 day. Who cares? It's not real time. Everything is not real time, right? So I have heard some very interesting comments about, oh, this will not work because it takes so many billions of cycles. It will not work if you want the information to come back in 3 seconds or 10 seconds or 10 minutes. What if you don't need that information for the next half hour? I can tell you hundreds of examples where I don't need that information for another half hour. If I put in my degree in my information, it comes after half an hour and is secure, I'm okay with that. Right now, if you did a stock transaction in the United States on a Thursday, you will get notification on a Friday that your stock is sold. You cannot use that money till Wednesday. Bank is holding that money for 5 days. With blockchain, the minute you sell, within 5 minutes you can use your money, or maybe 10 minutes, maybe half an hour. But you're still farther behind. Right now it's 5 days, will be 5 minutes. Sorry, can't do better than 5 minutes. Yeah, that's. Remember, when internet first came around, how many of you know what the baud rate of a modem was at the time when internet came around? Anybody? Yes, sir.
It was in Pakistan. It was 9.6 kbps.
9.6 kilobyte. If I gave you a connection of 9.6 kilobyte today, what would you pay me? A kick in the pants.
I had to use all the connections to go to the DE and get the first connection.
Trust me, I'm an expert at losing money on that one. I thought I'll open up an office in Karachi. Go figure.
Right. So currently we see
That's okay. Speak louder, I'll repeat it.
Right, so currently we see major advocates of the technology are coming either from the fintech side, the crypto market and the Bitcoin, or it's majorly the technology drivers like IBM, Linux Foundation, like that. So coming from the US market, what do you see the enthusiasm?
Can you mute that? I'm getting. Oh, hold on for a second. Yes, okay. Go ahead.
So I say if you're coming from the US market, I mean, in your opinion, what is the level of enthusiasm between the major market players like in retail sectors, like in Amazon, or for example, eBay about this blockchain stuff? And especially you mentioned about the healthcare sector. So what exactly is the reaction of the healthcare sector after we see the blockchain is getting a little bit mature given?
Okay, very good question. Medical data is the, there are no facts right now, I'm giving you an opinion. My opinion is that medical data would probably one of the last ones to come because people scared the living daylight out of everybody else. Aapka data kahan chala jayega? Without understanding the technology, your AIDS, your blood group, your AIDS, all these things will be out there. Somebody will know this thing because they don't understand. They'll scare the living out of them. In terms of financial institutions and all these going after that, my personal take is that Amazon and eBay will change. Because in some, if you look at the basic premise behind blockchain, you won't need Amazon or eBay. I have something to sell. I put it on the blockchain. I put my contract that I have this thing available to you. I'm selling it for this one. You put your requirement somewhere, which is I'm in the market to buy something, and the blockchain makes the transaction. So now, in some ways, Uber, Airbnb, sky's the limit. If I have a place to rent, and you want that place to rent in that area, why would you pay 25% to Airbnb? This makes no sense at all. So some of these middlemen, so internet actually was supposed to be democratic. Guess what? It was hijacked. We cannot talk about politics of Pakistan, but you can draw the parallel. By very few who became very big using internet. And the consumer is still where they were. You still are paying the price. Blockchain might change that. There's a book by, I forget the name of the author, Father and Son Team. That's a very good book. I recommend that, and I have that with me, that you read that. I consider that to be a must read for everybody. And I'll put that on the chain. Actually, I have it back in my bag, and I'll bring it afterwards and share with you.
So just a quick comment.
Let me finish the thought. Just give me one minute. In terms of financial institutions, you'd be amazed. A lot of money is being thrown in without admitting by Barclays Bank, by American Express, by Visa. Well, if you're so good, why are you investing in the new technology? Because they know it's going away. If you look at the transaction, when I slide my card somewhere in the United States, and I get my bill at the end of the month. When I pay $100 for something, the merchant only gets $92. Eventually, with all they say, it's 2.5%, 3%. I have done that business with our company collected money on credit cards, and we know that the actual cost is 8%. And that 8% distributed between 16 people who had very little value. They're guaranteeing that you will pay. Well, 97% of people already pay. 3% who don't pay is already built into the system. So what are you guaranteeing? You're guaranteeing nothing. So these, if you look at the investment we're going, Barclays is one of the largest investors in blockchain technology. Right? That ought to tell you something. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry.
So just on the point which you have it is going to be commercial organization more into it because it bypass the authorizing organization. But if you look from the other perspective, one of the two biggest investors right now is the UAE government. And UAE government is putting a lot of money in blockchain, and the other is Mars. Mars and IBM has created just a new company to revolutionize the whole shipping industry and how the documents flow. Can you comment on that?
Actually, that's the best news. If you cannot beat UAE government or IBM Merck conglomerate, we were just talking about it. IBM actually started on cloud computing in 1996 or 97. Never made any headway because these companies cannot move at the speed at which you can move. So that investment tells you that some of you need to go solve that problem and much faster. So that's a very good opportunity. That's a huge opportunity. So if the UAE government is saying that I'm going to change that, right? How about NADRA? Passports, anyone? Visa systems?
The whole life cycle can be
How long did it take you, the rocket scientists, to figure that out? It's all open, right?
Yep.
Right now it's upside down. My information is sold by somebody to somebody else to make money on me, and I have no control over it. It's going to be changed.
All right, so we are running out of time for the first session. So I would.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So.
Now, Mr. Sajid Ali Khan will present about the blockchain hackathon. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So hopefully you are enjoying the session. We have one more session after this, so please stay tuned with us, and we have a lot more to come right now. So I would just like to make some announcement about our blockchain hackathon, which was running, and due to somehow, we have to postpone our final deadline for the hackathon. We actually do not receive proper projects which we are expecting. So as per discussion with Dr. Arshad and team, we are now postponed the hackathon for now. So that's about blockchain hackathon. Now for our next speaker, please come here and please announce that now.
Right. So, I mean, the idea of this video was to tell you that we have created a whole digital healthcare ecosystem, which we will be launching in a couple of weeks now. We have made the partnerships with Telenor, the Gas, etc. We made the ecosystem partnerships with pharmacies, labs, D. Watson, Jupai Lab, and all that. So we created that whole digital healthcare ecosystem. So, when I talked to Dr. Arshad, he said that you should come up with a certain use case for blockchain that will actually add value in our ecosystem. So I thought that one of the real life use cases, and as Idris also pointed out, there are multiple use cases that you can think of: financial industry, the retail industry, etc. But here, this is one of the use cases where, which will be, I think, will take some time to be accepted by the society, but will add a lot of value. And as we have been saying that one of the main concepts behind blockchain is the ownership and the control of data, and also the data monetization. That if it is my data, do I get any benefit out of it? what kind of benefit can I get out of it, what is the kind of access level do I want to give, when do I want to give it, and in what form do I want to give it. So here is a use case that we should be able to work on. I mean, this is something that you should be able to work on from a hackathon perspective. So in our service, we will be generating a lot of data. We will have a lot of consultation data. We'll have a lot of illness data. We'll have a lot of treatment data, lab tests, pharmacy data. There will be a lot of data that is being generated, and at the moment we are kind of storing it in the traditional form of relational databases. This is something where I believe will be a good use case to implement. Okay, so what is the use case? The use case is to implement a distributed ledger of medical records, which will enable fast and transparent access to data. And there are certain requirements to this use case, and I think we can discuss it point by point, but I think something that will come to your mind immediately is that when we talk of a use case, a blockchain use case for patients, what will be the key requirements of that use case? There will be, you need to have a single true version of the data, so that when the data is stored in a distributed ledger, whoever has access to that ledger can see the same kind of updated copy of that data. The second, the most important thing is that the patient should be able to control who can view and who cannot view and when they can view. Because at the moment, you can see that all the ecosystem players, which are insurers, hospitals, laboratories, pharmacies, etc., are actually defining their business model on the analytics of your data. So hospitals, if a hospital is established in a certain area, it is established there because of a certain analytical data that there's a requirement of a hospital in that area. If there is a certain insurer who puts a premium on your insurance, it's based on certain patient medical records. So all these players are making their business models based on your data, whereas the patients do not have any access or control over that data in terms of control, as well as they do not get any benefit out of the data monetization of the data. So this is a use case that I think we will be presenting as part of the hackathon that should be implemented. And there are requirements here. The requirements will be given in the actual document that will be shared for the use case. If you look at from a definition point of view, these are the kind of data that is being generated currently. So because it's a digital healthcare, it's a mobile application, there's a lot of location data that we are storing. We're storing where do patients access the. So for example, you can imagine now that we can say that where in the country, from a heat map perspective, where in the country are people falling sick because of stomach-related problems? Where is certain flu happening in certain areas of the country? So there's a lot of location data that can be correlated with the actual illness treatment data that adds a lot of value. But again, as I repeated and as was read earlier, that the actual person who is the owner of the data generally does not have control over their data and does not get any monetization of the data. So the use case would, whoever starts implementing this use case in a distributed ledger will have to cater for these specific conditions, right? Okay, so I think the reason why this presentation is like this because it was made from a hackathon perspective, and so there's the requirements of the use case, there's the definition of the use case, there's the rules, and there's the expected outcome of the use case. So the rules are mentioned here. I mean, we can talk about specific. I mean, these are quite obvious rules that because the data is going to be generated through our service, so there needs to be an interface. Starting point would be an interface from our service into the distributed ledger. That will be source of information coming into the ledger. Once the information is there, then it should be secure. There should be a way to define access levels, right? I mean, that's obvious. And then once the data is stored from whatever point of entry, there should be one true version of that copy shared with everyone who has access to that ledger. And that access to the ledger, in my view, from a commercial point of view, should not only be access levels, but there should also be certain subscription levels or certain monetization models that would allow a certain commercial model to be associated with it. So, I mean, just to kind of conclude from a very simple perspective, what I would expect from a hackathon perspective, that whichever team or whichever developer starts implementing it, these are the kind of outcomes that I would expect. First of all, there are some standard outcomes that whatever is the scope of the implementation of the use case, it should be complete. Then, of course, one thing that is to be seen is the operational performance stats. So, okay, if you've implemented it, as Risa was saying, depending on what type of data, how quick or what is the performance stats, how does the data get updated, what is the kind of latency or delays that happen, a user interface, and I think I'll repeat that there should be some kind of mechanism or some kind of model that would allow monetization rules or monetization models to be implemented. That how can we, in this kind of implementation of the distributed ledger, use a certain commercial model which would allow not only access levels to be implemented, but also certain data monetization concepts to be implemented. Right? So I think I just had a very brief kind of a session. I don't have anything more than this. Any questions?
What's about the transaction cost? It's a huge data. And do you think that this whole data can produce a lot of costs in the blockchain when transactions are actually done in the blockchain?
In terms of cost of?
Transactions cost.
Repeat your question again.
Because the medical field is produce a lot of data. So what's about the transaction cost when every transaction on the gas cost is produced that goes in the blockchain? So do you think that gas cost will be sufficient for this large data?
I don't have any doubt now. I don't see any issues in that. Yeah, sure.
Same question. Well, this is spatial temporal data, right? I mean, we have traditional spatial temporal databases to store this type of data where we can. I'm worried that can we have the mining process for such type of spatial temporal data? There is already a distributed databases. So the transaction cost in terms of time and in terms of again latency and all these things, how it will affect? This data is very much sensitive. That's one part. The other part is we need a quick response from the data, as the doctor is suggesting something. So the transaction cost is really important.
I think no. I think the way I look at it, it's not that the ledger should be used for the real-time communication of the actual service. So our service will continue to function the way it is. It is more for the data that is being stored for the analytics at the back end. So it is not that when a doctor suggests a treatment to a patient, it should, of course, it will be stored into the ledger, but it's not that the patient will get response because of the response of the ledger. The service will continue running as a digital healthcare mobile service as it is. It is for the underlying data that will be stored for analytics purposes and for later on, because what happens is this data will only be accessed for analytical purposes by certain players like a hospital or an insurer, which is not going to be real time. It will be on an on-demand basis or it will be on a certain commercial basis. The need is because, of course, a certain insurer will, at the moment, every insurance company defines their premium models based on certain medical information, certain demographic information. So they correlate every information, and that's how they calculate what is your premium. So at the moment, it's your premium based on the information, the profile of you, whereas you do not get any kind of monetization out of it.
I have a question. The doctor's job is to prescribe the medicine, and if he goes wrong with his prescription, who is going to take the lawsuit? We had the discussion with some entrepreneurs on health-based ideas. That's what I want.
Although that's nothing to do with blockchain, but in terms of there are two, three things that can be covered here. Number one is that in our kind of thing, we store each interaction between a patient and doctor is stored, is archived. So there's number one, that is one kind of coverage. The second is that we are acting as a marketplace where we are connecting a patient to a doctor. So as a company, as an enterprise, we are not influencing any advice given by the patient. It's just by the doctor. It's just like if you walk into a clinic and a doctor gives you a certain advice, and because of that advice you fall ill or there's something wrong happens, it's the responsibility of the doctor, because the doctor is a qualified PMDC registered doctor. It is not the responsibility of the person who owns the clinic or the hospital. So that's how it's done.
I think the patient's history with that particular doctor as its own illness would be with your archive, but then that archive would be on the blockchain that would also help that patient if he or she changes the doctor, that previous prescription would be secure and won't be changed even by the doctor himself. And the next time the patient would have a particular key or so he or she can provide that, and like Idrisa was mentioning about the degree verification. So they can fetch the whole history of that particular patient. So there would be multiple advantages.
Thank you, sir. It's a nice use case. You have mentioned this data will be used for analytical purposes, and the analytical result will be used for commercial purposes. So what specific commercial purpose these data can be used? So the second question I want to know, did you use the same use case?
So we are at the moment we are not implementing blockchain directly. This is a use case that will be offered in the hackathon. Secondly, in terms of the commercial value, as I explained to your partner there, that there are multiple commercial values there. So how do insurers come up with a premium? So insurance commercial financial modeling is based on certain data. Whether it's car insurance or let's say medical insurance. Medical insurance in Pakistan probably is not that, at the moment is probably a flat rate, that there's 6,000 rupees a year or 6,000 rupees a month, you get a certain insurance. But if you want to have very specific insurances, they look at your profile, they look at your history, they look at where you live, you look at your lifestyle. All that data is used by insurers to come up with a premium. So that is one particular commercial model behind it. Similarly, hospitals are able to use that data to understand what kind of values should I put in this particular area. If I have a hospital in the Horde Defense, if I have a hospital in the local area, what are the kind of prices should I have? So this is all based on data analysis.
If I'm a patient, I have the authority to disclose or not disclose.
Yeah, exactly. The use case is that as a patient, because it's your data, you should have first of all some authority to grant permission who accesses your data, number one. And secondly, if you grant permission, you should be able to get some monetary benefit out of your data as a data monetization.
I have two questions, one related to your product and service you are starting, and other related to the hackathon which you are offering as a business case. First is like this type of service which you have just mentioned, there are a number of trials which have been done over like 6-7 years, like Chali Punjab government project in Pindi, Aga Khan University remote healthcare service, and most of them have failed because of certain reasons. For example, doctors do not want to record their patient, wants to see the physical presence of the doctor, they want doctor to touch them and see, things like that. And what are steps you have taken differently from the others to make it a success? And the second point is, when you talk about this use case, it's more relevant to the Western where the data is available digitally. Like in Pakistan, hardly there is any data available digitally apart from a big hospital like Aga Khan or Shifa or Doctor Hospital or National Hospital Lahore. And none of them, when you sign as a patient, they take a discrimination that they can't take the data, you can't ask for the data, electronic format. So how you are going to get the data? And that's for this particular step to make it a success, because you need to have complete ecosystem available.
Okay. The first question is that this digital healthcare or telehealth or e-health or mHealth have been going on for a few years, 5-6 years. So what is different and where we believe that we will be able to do something like a mass adoption? So there are three words that I used in the beginning. It was instant, live, and affordable. So unless we're able to make it an instant interaction between a patient and doctor and live, and make it affordable, people will not use it. So if there's, for example, say if you have a certain consultation costs around 700, 800, 1000 rupees. So our entire, every consultation will be 100 or 99 rupees. So first of all, it is extremely affordable for an instant consultation. That's number one thing. Secondly, the thing is that in terms of the kind of covering the whole ecosystem. So we have also not only made it very easy for patients or people to have a kind of a digital payment system. So we've integrated with the digital payment providers to make that financial transaction easy. And thirdly is that we want to complete the entire cycle. So we want to complete the entire workflow from an interaction to the lab integration to the pharmacy integration. So the entire thing has been integrated. So that's the few things that are different. And at the same time, we believe, I'll give you an example. We were talking to Telenor, and a lot of people in Telenor were saying, I just spent 2,000 rupees on a certain consultation, whereas if I had this kind of a service, I could have the same consultation in 100 rupees. That's one thing. Secondly, statistically, 78% of our illnesses during a year fall under what is called primary healthcare, and they can be treated over a video consultation very effectively. So that's the first question. Second question was that in terms of data. So we are not saying that we will ask Shifa or some other hospital to give access to the data. We are saying we have built a service which we are going to launch in 2 weeks, and it will start generating data immediately, right? So we want our data to be stored into blockchain so that it becomes a repository of digital healthcare records for the people who use our service, and gradually it will be done.
Are you using Ethereum blockchain or
No, we are not using anything at the moment. So as I said, we're not implementing blockchain at the moment. This is something that I would like to see as a hackathon exercise and see if we can come up with a good solution from the hackathon participants, and it can add value, then we will commercialize it. So our objective is first of all to see a prototype from the hackathon participants, and if it makes commercial sense, we will then adopt it and commercialize it.
All right, guys, so we are running out of time. So we have just another follow-up session with Bilal, and he's joining us from UK. So I'm just connecting you with him right now. So. Yeah, so Bilal, can you hear us? Bilal? Yeah, so Bilal, you're on the screen now, so let's start, please.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. This is Bilal here. Some of you might know me from the previous hackathon that we were doing from the enablement session. And if somebody is here from the hackathon that we did at GIK, they might also sort of recognize me. But for the rest of you guys, I'm basically a researcher at the University of Derby in UK, and I'm currently working with a Swiss-based pharmaceutical company looking at their diagnostic data and things related to that. For me, I've been liaising with XPS and FinLabs for a couple of months now, looking at how sort of blockchain is evolving in terms of the technology itself as per se, and helping them out with these enablement sessions during the hackathon that we're actually conducting at the moment. So for this, for the second hackathon, first of all, I'd like to do special thanks to Mr. Idris for the wonderful talk, and also to Nabil for providing us with this medical health use case. that the participants can now sort of implement during this hackathon. I just quickly tell you that these enablement sessions will now take place on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 4 to 5 p.m. Pakistan time. And right now we'll be doing them through Skype. The Skype ID is Bilal_Arshad. Alternatively, people can email me at bilal.arshad@sbsnet.com, at the top of the screen here, that you guys can see. So what we actually do within these sessions, I'll just quickly go through the timelines of the whole thing as well. What we usually do is, for people, we've not limited it to a certain type of technology. So you're free to choose, like Nabil said, whatever you want, or like Mr. Dri said, you're free to choose between Ethereum or Hyperledger or IOTA, whatever is your preference really. But for those who don't really have anything to begin with, we'd recommend going on with IBM's Hyperledger Fabric. And it's available, the first sort of series in that would be the Blockchain Essential course, available at the IBM Developer Works website. And it's a self-paced 2-hour course that you can easily do and earn a badge towards the end. So we'll also be distributing this hackathon packet for all the participants that are interested in doing on this hackathon. So the first sort of enablement session will be on Saturday, 10th of March, 4 to 5 p.m. Pakistan time. And this will continue on up until the hackathon, the SIG meeting that we'll be having in June. So the participants will have approximately 12 weeks to work on this hackathon, and will be available every week, 2 times during that week, and you can sort of ask all sorts of questions and stuff. In case we won't have any sort of expertise in that particular domain, we will be able to guide you to other sort of subject matter experts that can help you around with that, and the winners will eventually be announced on the 6th of June, when we'll be having our sort of 5th or like let's say the 6th SIG meetup. Details of that will be obviously distributed accordingly. The Spin Labs will email you this participation pack in a while that contains all the details related to how the hackathon will proceed. We have the judging criteria within it, and we've got some links to all these different blockchain platforms that you can use. And we will also provide all the submission details of how you're going to proceed with the submission and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our end, and we'll be looking forward to have some of you guys or as much as you'd be interested in going on with the hackathon bit in the enablement session starting from this Saturday. So yeah, good luck with it, and over to you, Sajid.
Thank you very much, Bilal. So it was a wonderful session. So now I would like to request Dr. Idris to kindly come forward and.
Dr. Alvi.
Oh, sorry. So I would like to request Dr. Alvi. So please come forward, sir. I forget your name. Sorry for that. So please come forward now and share a few words with us.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for being with us, and it has been a wonderful session, and at least I've learned quite a lot about blockchain, although I do not understand the technology fully as much as the presenters have, but at least it has shown me that this is one of the way forward for all of us, and the computer scientists who are sitting around here, they need to go deeper into this technology so that Pakistan could benefit from it. And we should not forget what Idris Kothari said us, that